The allotment is really beginning to fill in now that I'm planting out a lot of the plants I've been growing on in the greenhouse, including these Cape gooseberries. If you recall, I propagated these from cuttings at the end of last year. And today I'm going to be planting another courgette, also called a zucchini. And I bought this one at a plant sale. So this is one that I didn't raise myself, but it was only £1, which is about $1.50. So I thought, why not? It's hardened off, ready to go. Also today, I'm going to be planting out my dahlias, and those I've been growing on in the greenhouse, keeping them away from slugs for the most part. And I'll be showing how I'm putting a structure around them to help support them this year. We're also going to have a look at the peas that I planted last time, and we are then going to have a look around at the entire allotment. Wow, this soil is so dry at the moment. I was initially trying to dig the hole for the courgette with my onion hoe here. Wasn't doing the job, it's just too dry. And I also decided to bring the hose around because although it's always a good idea to water your plants in after you've put them in the ground, the soil is so dry that I'm going to water the hole as well. So I think that should do it. You just tend to plant plants at the same height that they're growing inside their pot. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fill this up with water as much as I can. And that way there's a little reservoir of water in this hole. It's been extremely dry these past couple of weeks, and it seems to be getting drier as the years go on. We've had hose pipe bans on, I think the past 2 years, maybe even 3, and I expect that we'll have one this year. So having that thick layer of mulch on your beds really helps to keep water locked in, a lot more than if you just have the soil exposed. Okay, so I think I'll just plant this guy straight in. It's a little bit too deep, so I'll just put some more soil at the bottom. It's really clumping up. You can see that I've got clay soil here, and if it gets dry, it turns rock hard. Okay, yes, much better. Good healthy plant. It's going to get a lot larger, so maybe I'll move it even over here slightly and then just backfill in and get her watered in. And then after I get this plant watered in, the last thing I'm going to do is remove all of the fruit, the squash that's forming on the plant right now, just so that it can focus on growing leaves and settling into its new home, and then in a couple of weeks it can start growing fruit and I'll be very pleased with them. If there is one ornamental flower that I remember from my childhood, it's dahlias. And my great-grandfather used to grow them in a border along the front of their little bungalow. And I'd never seen them in anyone else's garden at that time. And they were definitely not trendy like they are now. Dahlias come in all sorts, and here in the allotment I have quite a few single dahlias which the bees love, but I've also decided to splurge on some dahlias that are a bit more showy, a bit more for cut flowers, but they do have other uses. All dahlia tubers are edible, some more palatable than others. We're talking about the ordinary garden dahlia. And you can use the flowers as well as a natural dye, and they're just beautiful. I have quite a few different types here now. So I've got Dahlia burlesca, I have Rancho and Solman, and there might be another one kicking around here as well. But the problem with growing dahlias up here at the allotment is the wind. They'll be growing just fine, and then a summer storm will whip through here and they'll get flattened. It's happened many times before. And you can use ordinary stakes for your dahlias, but I spotted this structure being used by a commercial dahlia grower. And it is essentially just whatever wire you have, and this is just plastic fencing. Have it around your dahlias, they grow up and through it, and it supports them no matter what. And so if you see my dahlias looking great this year and upright and doing well despite everything else being flattened by storms, this is going to be why. Oh yes, that is the last variety that I have here. It's called Mr. Franz, and all of my dahlias I got from Sarah Raven. You'll notice that I have my wattle edging over here, this hurdle, and it has actually been great at stopping the wind and giving protection to the dahlias, to the parsley and the oca that was growing behind here last year. But these structures are going to be so much better. I just feel it. It just feels so much sturdier. Peas are looking great, aren't they? In my last allotment video, I showed how I planted these peas. They're a type called Sugar Ann, out of a gutter. And they just had some pea sticks around them. I put a bit of netting over them to protect them temporarily. And then 2 weeks ago, I used some old bamboo canes to create this structure for them to grow on. Now this variety, it shouldn't grow any more than about 1 meter, so about 3 feet tall. So this should do the job. The peas are starting to lean out, so I might put a little bit of netting or some more string on the other side, but I think this will do the job. And in fact, I have a tray full of mashua that I need to plant out. It's a South American root vegetable. It's a climber as well. It looks very much like a climbing nasturtium type plant, and in fact, I think it is actually related to nasturtiums. My first time growing them, and I'm really curious to see how they do and how they taste. I haven't even tasted them. So I'm going to build one of these for them next. I've got 5 plants here, and these were tubers given to me by another allotmenteer here at our allotment. I just want to pop one out of the module. Really good root system. You can see that they're entwining together already. And I have been untangling them to a certain extent, but they are really getting wound up together. I think what I'm going to have to do is separate them a little bit better and then create a space here for them to grow on. And there's only 5 plants, so I'm going to do a smaller version of the pea structure and give them that space to grow up. I've planted and watered in the mashua. It's very warm out right now though. And now I need to build them something to climb on. I've said this before, this is my first time growing them. I might be learning some things this year, but I believe that they are a sprawling climber, that they won't get too tall. We'll see. So I'm thinking something about the same size as far as height as the pea structure. And it's really quite easy to build. And I have some old bamboo canes that have been kicking around the allotment. They're quite brittle, but they'll do the job. And all I need is these and a bit of string to build what will be a frame for the mashua, or indeed you could use the same design for beans, for peas, for sweet peas, for anything. It's really quite inexpensive and very versatile. You begin by using 2 canes and you create a triangle shape at either end of the area that you want to create a climbing frame for. And then you create a connection, so a top bar that connects the two of those. And you try to get them to be as level as possible, and then you fit more uprights in between, and then lash it all together with string. It's easy peasy, does the job, inexpensive, and as I said, you can use it for practically anything. Got a lot done today, so let's have a look at the plot. Starting up here, raspberries are filling in. The amendments that I made to the trellis are doing their job, just keeping this patch contained. And I noticed along the front here that there are quite a few berries starting to form. And these won't be ready until the end of July, going into the end of August, because they're autumn fruiting. The strawberries, on the other hand, they will be producing fruit very, very soon. You can see fruit starting to form in there, so I'm going to get the netting on the next time I'm up, just to keep the birds and other wildlife off of them. This patch along here, wild, a lot of it is self-sown, like the foxgloves, and I love it. It's just humming with bees. The structure for the mashua, looking lovely. Very simple, as we just saw, and down below it, I put in some calendula, and it's been really hot, so I've put over this veggie mesh just to shield it from the sun a bit, and I'm going to water it down before I leave as well. Over here we have my perennial 9-star broccoli under the netting. That has been a success. Lots of harvests this year. And then over here, the Tontandine kale. This arrived in the post as a small plant this year, and it is already a good few feet tall. This is a type of kale that will grow for years and years and years. You can propagate it easily, and you can harvest from it all year long. And I've also planted quite a few other kales and brassicas along the front here, so this will probably be heaving with greens before long. Over here, my chamomile patch of the year, and then on the other side, some oca. And I've also planted some of the oca, also called New Zealand yam, underneath this netting. This bed here, we've got a couple of rows of carrots, we've got beetroot, we've got young potatoes or new potatoes on the far left. These are Red Duke of York, multi-sown leeks and onions there, the dahlias up top. And then here, next to the courgette that I've just planted, and behind the gooseberries, the Cape gooseberries, is elephant garlic. And I've already broken the scapes off, and these I'll be harvesting very, very soon. The pond and everything I have planted around it is an oasis in the middle of my plot, and it provides lots of shade and shelter. I have recently put the solar-powered fountain back in to help with aeration. It's not working at the moment. Oh, it's just lacking enough sunshine. It should be fine. This is lady's mantle. Beautiful plant, ground cover plant, also a skincare plant. This back here is lovage, a type of culinary herb. Has a very unique flavor. And then all throughout here are various flowers, including comfrey here. And this is the Bocking 14, so it doesn't spread around, it doesn't produce seeds. And then these flowers over here are called astrantia. And a new addition right behind the mullein, which is still quite small, are these. They are Mystic Merlin mallows, so a type of, a relation of marshmallow. And they were supposed to get quite a bit taller, but if they stay that height, I'll be pleased. That is actually a really good height. On the underside of the peas, there are quite a few things growing, including perpetual spinach and multi-sown beetroot, kohlrabi, celery. There's a few lettuces in the distance, and there's also some self-seeded chamomile and poppies that I'm just letting grow. And the rosemary seems to be getting bigger by the year. I have no idea which variety it is. It came as just rosemary, but it clearly is something that's going to get big. So I'm thinking about taking cuttings, propagating it, and planting some at the new house as part of the hedge for the back bank. Lavender hidcoat. Lovely, lovely plant, and always the first lavender to bloom for me each year. It stays pretty small and compact, and these lovely stems are great for crafting with or drying them out because they've got such long, straight stems, and they're very small and petite as well. There's lots of other lavender here, including the white one over here. It's called Edelweiss, and that's also in bloom. But my main lavender will be another couple of weeks yet. It's down here, this massive hedge. On the other side of the lavender, there are more new potatoes, also Red Duke of York. I planted them, I think, 13 weeks ago, so technically they would be ready to be dug up next week. This type doesn't produce flowers, which is usually one of the signs that you would use to know when to dig up potatoes, especially new potatoes, but I have to count the weeks with this one. But it's been such a cold spring and it's been very dry. I think I'll just give it another couple of weeks. And then down below it is my patch of garlic that is entwined with quite a few wild plants, aka weeds. And the hardneck garlic is now producing scapes. So I need to come through and break all of these off so that the plants can focus on producing the bulbs, which will be ready for harvesting next month, and I can take these scapes home and use them in cooking. Well, that is a good unruly handful of garlic scapes, and I'm going to take these home, and they can be sauteed. You can make a pesto with them. There are just so many different ways to use garlic scapes, and you do have to remove them from the plant anyway, so it's a bonus if you're growing hardneck garlic. Softneck garlic doesn't grow these, so if you're looking out on your softneck, you won't see these. And if you do, then you might have inadvertently planted hardneck. I got a lot done today, this morning at the allotment. Spent practically the entire day here. Got the supports in, we had a look at what was growing, and by next month, so the next allotment garden update, I'm sure that everything is just going to be lush and bountiful. There's going to be courgettes coming, there's going to be beets ready to be pulled, lots of greens, and we'll have to do a picking video as well after that. But for next week, do check out my previous video, the update on the home garden, because you want to have a look at the shed, see what state it's in, because next week is all going to be about renovating that, and I'm going to be ripping the floor out and trying my best to salvage what I can. So stay tuned for that and more on the home garden. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye for now.